All right, we're back and we're live. It is, let's see, 12:19 p.m. It's Thursday, April 23rd, 2026. And this is trade recap. So today I took a loss. I'm a little late on the recap today, I'll be honest. Once again, not as late as last time, but a little bit late nonetheless. But so yeah, today I took a loss. I think all things considered, it wasn't a horrendous loss, I feel like it was okay, it was decent. But there's a couple things to recap here. Um, cool. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna bring this back to New York. Open right here. Let's go take this out here. Cool. I'm going back to New York Open, 9:30. Boom, right here. So at 9:30, right, around pre-market before 9:30, what I was really looking for at open was longs. I think it was pretty obviously longs here at open, given the fact that on the higher time frame, given which is the 4 hour here, we obviously had this pullback into this 4 hour gap, and on top of that, we had an SMT with previous day lows. So as we can see, this candle right here took out previous day lows on the S&P right here, and we didn't on Nasdaq. So not only the SMT higher time frame SMT, but also the 4 hour FVG were holding us for bullish and for longs in this case, and very obviously we are trending higher, and we also obviously have previously highs and Asia highs here as targets. Additionally, we obviously have all this high time frame trend line liquidity sitting above us in the S&P. So I think longs were pretty obvious here at open. Now, the what I was looking for obviously once again was for us to ideally at open for us to tap into this 15-minute intermittent low. That's kind of what I was looking for the most part, and then from there expand up higher towards at least Asia highs. I think Asia highs or the previous highs is a very good liquidity zone as well if we wanted to do that, but I was looking for longs mostly to the pre to Asia highs in that case. Although I was leaning more bullish, but I was open to have more to also have potentially looking for shorts, given that it was a little ambiguous in the sense that technically we also have a high time from SMT between, let's say, these highs here. We also do take out Asia highs here in pre-market as well, and we trace back down. So it was a bit ambiguous, but the higher time frame was telling me that we're likely more likely than not bullish. So I was leaning more for longs. So market opens, and we have this large wick down here, but honestly for the most part we really don't do much. Like, we honestly kind of just generate liquidity. We don't really form anything that I'm like, yeah, this looks good. The what I was looking for is obviously once again a pullback into a 5 minute gap at this point to expand up higher. So what we end up doing is that we do end up forming this 5 minute gap right here. So we form this 5 minute FEG right here, and I'm looking for, once again, for us to use that as support to take us up higher towards Asia highs, right? So at this point, I'm looking for that, but there is no real entry. There's no 1 minute, there's no 30-second, not even a 15-second entry that usually I take. I like to generally use FEGs at minimum alongside something else, like a CISD or maybe a BOS, but in this case, there was really nothing. We just had a huge wick down here, and then literally from that point onwards, I believe we just began to expand up higher from that zone. We obviously have this huge wick into the 5 minute gap, and then we begin to deliver up higher and tap into Asia highs. So in that sense, I was right on my bias towards Asia highs. It was pretty straightforward. It was um pretty obvious here that we were trying to push up higher. Once again, I was open to other side, but I was leaning more bullish. Now, in this case, I was still looking for longs, since technically, once again, we are still looking for longs. Yes, we tap into a high time frame PD array, but we, still continue to look for longs in this case nonetheless. So what I'm looking for at this point is I want to see us probably tap back into the 5 minute and maybe take out this intermittent low right here, this 5 minute right here, and maybe see us reject off of that level and maybe expand up higher once again. But what we end up doing is we end up inversing that 5 minutes. Very obviously here, we inverse this 5 minute gap right here. And we also end up forming this 5 minute gap up here. So not only we have a 5 minute IFEG right here, right? Boom. We also have a newly formed FVG up here, so that would make this a very small yet strong BPR gap right here. Right, so what I'm looking for us to do is ultimately just have us tap into that level to look for sells. So even though I was looking for longs initially, at this point I'm looking for sells because it looks pretty good for sells given that we already took out buy side liquidity. We inverse this 5-minute gap right here. And we obviously have a lot of sell side liquidity sitting right here. For one, we have a lot of sell side in the higher time frame. So if we look at the 15 minutes / 1 hour here, we obviously have a lot of sell side sitting all the way down here. So sell side looks really good to take out on just generally speaking, right? But even internally, we have this trailing liquidity sitting down here with the 15-minute intermittent low down here as well, which honestly was my target for one. I mean, we could have definitely gone all the way down here, tap into the 4-hour intermittent low / Asia lows. But honestly, I was cool with just tapping into the 15-minute intermittent low. So what I was looking for is for a pullback into this 5-minute BPR / 5-minute gap. And I wanted to see us reject that for that level. So I don't think sells at this point were a bad idea. Because once again, we really took a buy side and we are showing weakness for longs from the 5-minute gap. So I'm looking for sells here. Eventually though, we do tap back into this gap here. We kind of generate more sell side liquidity, which gives me even a little more confidence and conviction to about the fact that we might want to actually trace back down. So the minute that we tap into this 5-minute gap, I'm looking for a short, right? So I'm looking for a short here. So there was this 1 minute, which I don't believe we ever get. I don't think we inverse this gap at any point. We just expand up higher, make higher highs. We get very close to inversing this 5-minute gap. So the BPR doesn't hold, but the 5-minute gap is still good to go, and that's kind of my main priority. So we do not only hold this 5-minute gap, right? So there's a couple confidences here that I'm very confident in that tells me, okay, we're looking for shorts here. So for one, we obviously hold this 5-minute gap right here. We hold the 5-minute gap. We also tap into equilibrium / 0.6 of the Fibonacci range here. We have a nice wick off at 0.6 level here of Fibonacci range. Equilibrium is fairly close here as well, and 5-minute gap is still holding as well, right? So, and on top of that, we already took a buy side, and no sell side has been taken out, right? So we have nothing. There's nothing that has been taken out here just yet, right? So this gives me the idea that we want to take out this level at minimum, these relative equal lows or the 15-minute intermittent low, and then expand up higher. So that's what I'm looking for at the end of the day, right? So even though I was looking to maybe take an entry off of this last leg here, there was really no inversions here that looked very good to me to take shorts off of. So what I ended up waiting for is for this 1 minute FVG to get inverse right here. Because for one, obviously the confidence I mentioned earlier, but I also did like this nice rejection candle right here. On top of that, there's also trendline liquidity sitting here on the S&P, and nothing sponsoring the move higher on the S&P as well either, right? So everything is looking pretty good for shorts here. So even though initially I was bullish, I was willing to take a short here. So this is what ends up happening. So generally speaking, I wait for a CISD to confirm alongside the IFVG. But because this looks so good to take shorts off of, I chose to take an entry off just purely the IFVG that we got here. So this ends up getting inverse right here. And I take an entry at the IFVG at the high here, and I'm simply targeting the 15-minute intermittent low right here for a nice little 1 to 1.39 RR. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for anything else, nothing more. So we inverse this gap, and what I am taking, I end up taking a limit order entry at the IFVG if we choose to fill it in. I go pretty light. I believe I go with two. I believe I go with 2 contracts only. So it wasn't a big loss, but I went in with 2 contracts nonetheless. So no CISD, but we do end up getting this IFEG, and like I said, it looked really good. I like the nice displacement. The 5-minute gap was holding. Equilibrium / 0.6 the Fibonacci range was holding, and we had already taken buy side with no sell side having been taken out just yet, and a lot of generated sell side liquidity below us, right? So we end up getting a fill here. My stop loss obviously goes all the way up here, right here, and then my TP once again is just the 15-minute intermittent low right here. And then boom. So this ends up doing its thing. We get a pullback. We get an entry here. And basically what ends up happening is we get stopped out fairly quickly right there. So what I will say is I think this was a decent loss. I don't think my idea behind it was bad. I think something that I just gotta work on as a whole is just execution. Like I feel like I have something a little more mechanical where I'm like, okay, cool, this looks good. I'm gonna take an entry this way or so on and so forth. And as long as I got that right, I think everything else is fine. But I think the idea behind this trade for shorts wasn't bad. Once again, we had taken already buy side liquidity above us. We had a lot of generated sell side below us. There was nothing pushing us up off of this. Like this, we're not sponsored by anything. Like, we hadn't taken any 15-minute intermittent low, any sell side liquidity low down here as well. Like we had no real reason to go up since we had taken no liquidity out. So I feel like I was being confident in this was not a bad idea as a whole. Um, so that's a loss on the day. It wasn't super major. I guess in this case it is what it is. But so I'm not upset. I'm not too upset about it. I think the trade was decent. I think the only thing I gotta work on is my actual execution, something a little more mechanical where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take this kind of entry most times, maybe be a little iffy about the rest of the thing. But in this case, the IFEG I think was solid. I like once again the rejection candle that we got here. Um and yeah, that was what it was. I took that one trade, and now I'm about $1,000 in drawdown, I believe. I got another K left, and after that, that'll be it. But with that being said, that's that for today. Tomorrow is the last. Wait, is today's Thursday, right? Yeah, tomorrow's the last trading day of the week. So hopefully, maybe I can end on a win. Honestly, price action has been really iffy, really funky this week. It's been very hard to tell bias as a whole. Um, but it is what it is. I'm not upset with this trade. And I think it was okay and it had merit to it. With that being said, that's it for today. And yeah, hopefully we do better tomorrow. Yeah, deuces.